Well, good morning, members of the Small Business Development Committee. I'd like to call this meeting to order at this time. And for the record, the chair notes that we have a quorum, mostly on Zoom. And I appreciate y'all being with us this morning. Hopefully the weather will improve. And at this time, I'd like to call on Noel Williams, Representative Noel Williams, for our prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your wisdom. We thank you for caring for us and loving us. We ask you to be with us, to lead us, and to guide us, and to bless us, and to keep us safe. And please bless the ones that are traveling today. Give them traveling mercies. And we pray these things in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you, Representative Williams. Anyway, first up is our programs. And let me share with the members of the committee, we have a full slate of presentations today, starting with the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce. And they have 4 presenters. And then we've got the Small Business Development Centers with 4 presenters as well. If we have time for questions at the end of these, I would be happy to entertain questions. But if not, please be assured that we will share everyone's email, because these questions, I'm sure, are very important, but we just have a lot on our plate at this time. So you can contact the presenters directly, members of the committee, via email, and Blake will be happy to supply with y'all with the appropriate email addresses. So at this time, Marshall, I assume you're with us via Zoom with the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce. The floor is yours, sir.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Am I coming through okay? Okay, great. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee for the opportunity to present to the Small Business Committee this morning. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Metro Atlanta Chamber and who we are as an organization and some of our policy priorities. And then I'm going to turn it over to Amy Lancaster King to introduce our guests that we've invited this morning to talk a little bit about workforce development from a practical perspective, and also for her to discuss some of our educated workforce priorities. So again, thanks. It's great to be here. So just about the Metro Atlanta Chamber, I know we know each other from seeing each other at the state capitol, but there's more to the Metro Atlanta Chamber than just what we do as a public policy team. The Metro Atlanta Chamber is a 162-year-old organization that represents businesses, colleges, and universities and nonprofits across the 29-county metropolitan statistical area. This region makes up the nation's 9th largest market. And we often get the question, what is this 29-county MSA region? Well, the region stretches as far north as Pickens and Dawson counties, west to the Alabama state line, south to Meriwether and Lamar counties, and as far east to Morgan County. Our overall goal at MAC is to work to position Metro Atlanta as a top-tier global region by focusing on 3 key areas: public policy, promotion, and economic development. Our efforts build on the qualities that make Atlanta one of the nation's most unique metros: its neighborhoods, culture, quality of life, and welcoming business community, and more, of course. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our economic development efforts, because that's one that I don't think we spent a lot of time discussing at the state capitol. But our economic development efforts focus on recruiting new companies to the region and retaining and growing innovative businesses that already call the area home. In addition, MAC convenes thought leaders in the region's key ecosystems: supply chain, IoT, bioscience, global commerce, technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. In our conversations with our economic development team, we hear directly from them about the challenges and opportunities we face as a region and as a state. And the top issue we often hear from them is about what needs to be done to grow our talent pool and develop our workforce. This isn't an issue that is unique to Metro Atlanta. Growing regions across the country face similar challenges. So we're fortunate here in Metro Atlanta and across the state to have a top-tier university system, incredible private colleges, and a technical college system willing to meet the needs of businesses on a near daily basis. And having that skilled talent ready to join our workforce is one of the top issues we need to address to remain the #1 state to do business. Our promotion efforts at MAC include robust marketing and communications that set Metro Atlanta apart. In addition to initiatives like Choose ATL, which we presented at one of the House Rural Development Councils a few years ago, that initiative helps promote the region and works to attract and retain the next generation talent shaping our region. And further, and this is one that I love to talk about, through MAC, the Atlanta Sports Council, which is housed at the Metro Atlanta Chamber, led by Dan Corso, attracts and hosts the world's top sporting events, such as the 2018 College Football Championship game, Super Bowl 53. We had the NCAA Men's Final Four scheduled for 2020, just about a year ago, but obviously that was canceled due to COVID-19. Hopefully we'll get that back at some point soon. But one that's on the horizon is FIFA World Cup in 2026, which Atlanta is actively bidding for now to be a host city. On our public policy efforts, these reflect our organization's commitment to protect Georgia's status as the #1 state to do business. We engage in critical issues affecting the region, including transportation, transit, and infrastructure, which this General Assembly has supported in significant ways over the last decade to drive increased funding for roads, bridges, and our transit systems. Additionally, our policy team focuses on general business climate issues like tax policy, but also workforce development and education to ensure Georgia remains a welcoming state that attracts talent from diverse backgrounds. So just a couple of MAC specific agenda items that we're working on this legislative session. If you have any questions about these, please find me later. I'll find you and we can have a more in-depth discussion. But for the purposes of time, I'm just going to hit the highlights. I mentioned World Cup. These major sporting events are getting bigger and bigger every time they come around, and public safety costs continue to increase. It's just so important to keep people safe. So we're looking to partner with the state to increase state support to help offset those public safety security costs. And even though this event's in 26, we're already planning for it now. Taxpayer fairness legislation. This legislation deals with disputes about ambiguous interpretations of the law between the Department of Revenue and taxpayers. We're working on legislation this session about that. The COVID-19 safe harbor liability legislation, which the House passed last week, it's incredibly important. We're also actively supporting the online mobile sports betting bill that's being entertained in the General Assembly right now. And then there's other legislation that we're working to support to turn certain executive orders issued under the governor's emergency powers into something more permanent. One of those is ensuring that construction surety bonds can be transacted remotely rather than in person using a raised seal to speed that process up. This was an executive order that was issued. It's one we hope to make permanent. There's another one that we're working on with the members of the General Assembly to ensure that shareholder meetings for Georgia corporations can continue to be held virtually, even after the governor's emergency powers are lifted. So we'll have more to say about those in the coming days. But I'm going to defer to Amy on educated workforce policy, and then some of the criminal justice reforms relating to workforce development in just a moment. So in the few moments I've had with you this morning, you certainly heard me talk about talent, attraction, and workforce. So now I'm going to turn it over to Amy Lancaster King, MAC's Director of Workforce Development, to talk about some of the initiatives we're working on in this space and to introduce two businesses who will talk about what they have done to address their workforce needs and some of the challenges they face. Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with you, I'll turn it over to Amy now.
Thank you, Marshall. I appreciate that presentation. And I guess Amy has the floor now.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Marshall. First, I want to go into some detail, but before I do that, regarding the specific education workforce policies we're pushing, I'd really like you to hear from Adam Mathis and Kevin Skidmore. Adam Mathis is the president of Prime Power Services and the second generation leader of a woman-owned family business headquartered in Austell, Georgia. Prime Power provides emergency power services and engineering solutions for mission-critical facilities in healthcare, data and telecoms, and commercial markets. We'll give Adam a few minutes and then I'll introduce Kevin. So with Adam, take it away, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and ladies and gentlemen. As Amy generously introduced me, my name is Adam Mathis, second generation president of a small woman-owned family business in Cobb County. My stepfather founded Prime Power in 1983, and my mother joined him in 1986. And in 1999, Roger Bisher and Addie Mathis received the Small Business of the Year award for the state of Georgia. It's my honor to continue their legacy in this business pursuit. Please forgive my informal appearance. I'm with my family on vacation down in Florida, and it's an honor to be able to pipe in to visit with you all through the miracle of wireless technology. Now, Prime Power, we approach business as an enterprise that provides goods and services to the community for the sake of human flourishing. And in order to grow, Prime Power must provide critical skills training for our new employees for ourselves. My business needs a skilled workforce in order to provide services to our community, critical power services. Successful power generation technicians must be competent in at least 4 trades: diesel and natural gas mechanics, electrical systems and electronics controls, customer service, and light truck driving and towing. Once competent and experienced, journeyman level generator techs can earn over 6 figures annually through a combination of regular time and overtime work. As we say in our industry, power never sleeps, and neither do power generation techs. It's a hard and thankless career path that is essential to the survivability of our civilization. At the same time, it's a rewarding and valuable career that provides good earning and longevity nearly anywhere in the world where continuous power is needed. Now, unless we hire away skilled technicians from other companies, we have to train them up in the trades ourselves. And this is a costly, risky, and an inherent impediment to growth. No equipment manufacturer wants to train us because we're their direct competition. So we've decided to invest in a training center so that we can recruit, train, and retain a competitive workforce to replace aging talent, expand into new markets, and grow business. The demands of a civilization that requires electricity are growing, but the workforce capable and desirous of working in the fields of electricity is diminishing. Training of this sort is expensive, risky, and time-consuming. This morning, I want to talk to you about 2 simple things that I think the House Committee on Small Business Development can do to help small business owners like me employ more workers, grow business, and improve the quality of services being delivered to our communities. And by helping small business owners succeed in business, you are helping your constituents create a desirable and prosperous future for all Georgians. I see this as your mandate and not a partisan issue. 2 things you can do to help small businesses prosper: attract the good and repel the bad. Now, I'll tell you what this looks like from my perspective. First, attract the good. Incentivize small business owners to train their own workforce. Make it easier. Expand the training tax credits. Reduce the burdensome administration required to access training resources. Leverage small businesses as grassroots educators for an adult workforce. There are great programs and initiatives directed at K-12, no doubt, but there's a large existing adult workforce in need of basic technical education. This came into view very clearly for me just the past couple of weeks. One of our adult participants in our training program thought that the boiling point of water was 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Straight-faced. This person is not dumb, but this person is ignorant and without knowledge. If you want Georgia to prosper, you need to notice the millions of adults who need continuing education in order to prosper. Small businesses do this every day. We help this person know it's not 81 degrees. How can you help me educate and train your constituents so they can earn a good living? Allocate more funding and resources to small businesses to train and retain their workforce. Put the resources where the rubber meets the road. Help me train and employ your constituents by providing resources directly to the small business leader. That's attracting the good. Second, repel the bad. Reduce the risk. Make it easier for small businesses to do business. Every time y'all vote against protections for business, you make it more expensive for us to employ your constituents. Want us to make it through COVID? Extend protections for businesses against frivolous lawsuits. It's hard enough to start and run a business. Help reduce the risks by protecting business owners continue to employ your constituents. Uphold the rule of law. This one's important. The increasingly crime-ridden, lawless society we call home is a threat to businesses and prosperity. Moreover, no matter how popular marijuana becomes, I will not hire someone who tests positive for drug use. In fact, I will fire them. I cannot afford to have someone high on the job driving a light truck through the streets of Atlanta on the way to an emergency call because the power went out at the nation's premier public health research institute or at one of our great hospitals. Legalizing marijuana is not a smart way to expand the workforce in Georgia. On the contrary, it will have the unintended consequence of diminishing the workforce. Lower taxes for business owners. Georgia is neighbored to the north and to the south by SEC rivals who have more favorable tax environments for business than does Georgia. The tax burden carried by business owners is enough to drive would-be entrepreneurs to the greener hills or sunnier skies away from Georgia. It's too risky and difficult to found and build a business only to give half your profits away to a government out of touch with the realities of a small business leader. Remember, everything you do as a policy leader in Georgia carries implications for good or for ill for the business leaders in Georgia. By attracting the good and repelling the bad, the House Committee on Small Business Development can improve the state of small business in Georgia, expand opportunities for its workforce, and make Georgia the best state in the nation for entrepreneurial endeavors. The state of Georgia wants productive residents who create things. What can the state do?
Thank you, Adam. I really appreciate you taking time away from your vacation with your family to join us this morning. Thank you so much. Chairman Jokas, do you mind if I go on to Kevin Skidmore, or did you have any questions for Adam before we move forward?
Well, right now, we're going to leave the questions till later on in the thing, so
Perfect.
in the meeting. So if we could continue with Mr. Skidmore, that'd be great.
Thank you. Kevin Skidmore is the president of 440 Trucking Company. And he really founded this company to give individuals who are transitioning out of incarceration an opportunity to make a living wage. Quality and stable employment is so critical to not recidivating. And so Kevin has done a fabulous job with his company, but it is in the transportation and logistics space, which has significant demand right now. Kevin, are you with us?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Kevin Skidmore. And in 2014, I launched 440 Trucking, which is a trucking company dedicated to hiring and returning citizens. I also am a returning citizen. At the age of 16, I went to prison for armed robbery. I got out at the age of 26 with the life skills of a 16-year-old and had to figure out how to make it. And after I got out and became a success myself, I wanted to reach back and help others just like me. So I created 440 Trucking, which also is named after Senate Bill 440, which mandates that juveniles be charged as adults. So when after I launched 440, my vision was to, again, hire people like me, but the insurance cost was extremely high. So for years, I couldn't do it. And in 2018, I met some investors that believed in my vision and what I was doing. And we signed a contract to be able to afford the insurance to hire these new guys so that they could work for my company. Because again, I am very background friendly. Like I said, I have one. And that vision was tough to realize. So we went into the contract deal. That contract fell through. So in 2019, I'm sorry, I launched my operating authority and I got the high insurance. After about 6 months, we had to shut the operation down because I couldn't afford the high cost of the insurance. Insurance is really, really high for a new driver. So one of the needs that we would need on the ground here in trucking is access to capital. You know, most of my businesses were self-funded and they grew really slow because they're self-funded. If I had more access to capital, I could grow the company much faster and could afford the insurance to hire new drivers, which translates into more jobs for returning citizens, which keeps them off the streets and from recidivating. My plan has always been to hire individuals coming out of incarceration, to give them a real second chance. The reason why I love trucking so much and I'm attached to it is because trucking is one of those industries where you don't really need a degree or any high level skill set to perform. You just need to be able to drive the truck, you know, get the license and drive. And the one thing I love about oftentimes when sometimes coming out of incarceration, individuals complain about not making enough. Well, in trucking, it's never you can't make enough, you didn't drive enough because you're paid by how much you drive. And that's why I'm really, really so attached to it and love it. And again, so I had to shut the authority down after 6 months. The first person, when I was running the authority, the first person I hired out of prison was James Young. I hired him in February 2019, and he is still with me today. Unfortunately, after 6 months, I had to shut the authority down. I found another company that would insure him so I could keep him with me. And he's been with me now for 2 years, and he's doing very, very well. But if I had access to capital, I could really, really afford the high cost of insurance to continue to train and employ more returning citizens. And again, these individuals, as we can see, they become really loyal employees. He has been with me 2 years, which is a long time in trucking, because a lot of times truck drivers jump from company to company. But he stayed, he's going to be around for a while, and it's good to see him doing very, very well. And my vision is to employ hundreds more like him, and also solve a problem we have in the transportation industry with drivers. It's an extreme driver shortage. The second thing would be, I would say, access to more grant funding. I also run a CDL program in partnership with First Step Staffing and Georgia Piedmont Technical College, where we get individuals their CDL for free. This is a 4-week training that's absolutely free to participants. We cover the cost with WIOA funding, and I cover the cost of transportation, lunch, DOT draw screens, DOT physicals, the AP learner's license through the funding I received from Atlanta Career Rise. Many of the participants aren't able to enroll in the class because they can't afford to go 4 weeks without any pay. And if there was more money, available, whether through grants or whatnot, then we could pay them a stipend where they could afford to make that transition into truck driving, commit to that 4-week class. But again, because we don't have enough funding to cover the cost to pay them while they train, a lot of them can't do it. And we could definitely roll out a lot more people and get them into this high demand industry if we had to access the funding, again, to pay them stipends while they train. And even right now, as I speak to you, I have this jacket on the skull cap because it's kind of cold. I'm in the office of PDR Logistics and Diesel Repair, the shop a friend of mine and I opened up February 1st. Even here, it was all self-funded. And if we had access to more funding, I could bring returning citizens in and train them in diesel mechanics, which is also a high demand industry and a high pay industry. And that would solve, some of those problems. And also with me being a returning citizen, I also believe in character development. So I have, some staff at Georgia Piedmont that also will do character development training with them. So I can provide a whole complete wraparound service, get them trained and also work in their character if we had that access to capital. And that was pretty much all I had.
Thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate you joining us this morning. Chairman, just as you'll see in committee, we've brought 2 employers here today, both really investing in their own workforce. And as they both talked about, the demand for talent and the importance of a talented workforce are key. And so I want to just go into some details about the policies that we're working on to really address the workforce needs of Georgia, starting at the kind of a mixture at the very beginning of the pipeline, but also at the end of the pipeline. We're focused on increasing support for working parents through the Child Care and Parent Services, also known as CAPS program. Right now, access to affordable, high quality childcare is an integral component of a healthy and responsive workforce system. In Georgia, low-income parents have a 20% chance of being fired or leaving a job due to problems with childcare. And this costs the state over $100 million in lost revenue. We'd like to see increased funding for the CAPS program. Right now, it's currently based on a 50% of the state median income level to be eligible, but that only covers around 35% of eligible children at the current funding levels. So we'd like to see that go up to increase to cover more of those students, more of the children. But this isn't just about, it's about the children, which is definitely important, but it's also about parents having the ability to go to school and to work to earn a sustainable wage and to support their families long-term. The other thing that we're looking at is the Computer Science for Georgia. Funding for this is for professional training for teachers. And we started this in 2019, and the funding is given in grants to districts each year. So far, only 400 teachers have been trained, and we estimate that about 2,200 total are needed. Our peer states around the South, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, are spending millions per year on their training efforts, and Georgia's is less than $1 million. We're working with the Lieutenant Governor's office on finding ways to increase the funding over the next 2 to 3 years to be more competitive and ensure that all middle and high schools have computer science courses available in their schools. This is really important when it comes to growing our future talent. If students aren't exposed to computer science type of programs in school, they may never get exposed. That is one of our top industries, and it has some of the highest paying jobs. So it's really critical that we help to grow this talent in the state. Next is the Complete College Georgia grant. We're working on a sustainable source of funding for gap funding for low-income students. In Georgia, about 70% of all job postings that show an education requirement are looking for an associate's degree or higher. However, only 40% of the population has an associate's degree or higher. So there is a big gap that we need to fill. Despite the success of Hope Scholarship, recipients of Hope are disproportionately from higher incomes, which leads to Georgia's per capita student loan debt of 34.5%, which is much higher than the national average. Georgia and New Hampshire are the only 2 states without a state-sponsored need-based aid program. So we'd like to see investment in a gap funding program that's really targeted to seniors in college to help them get through that last mile and increase those graduation rates for those lower income students. And then kind of on the other end of the spectrum, we're looking at things that increase access to employment. So probation, Senate Bill 105 is kind of a cleanup bill to the previous 2017 changes to probation. Probation is a cost-effective type of sentence in which an offender is placed on supervision and must comply with certain conditions and reporting requirements. But lengthy probation periods and all of the requirements that go with it can start to be a detriment to retaining and employment. And a stability in your job is key to not recidivating. During these long probation sentences, the state spends hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars supervising individuals who are unlikely to recidivate and reincarcerating individuals for technical violations. In 2017, the legislature did a lot of great work to address our growing probation problem, but the implementation has struggled to live up to the bill's intent. Georgia has the largest number of citizens on probation in the nation. Currently, there are 203,000 people on probation in Georgia. But with those new parameters that were put in place in 2017, between 35,000 and 48,000 are eligible right now for early termination under the new guidelines, meaning they have paid all restitution, they have met all conditions of probation, and not been charged with any new crimes. However, because the process isn't quite clear, only 213 have actually had their probation terminated early. Senate Bill 105 clarifies the code language by streamlining the various processes for early termination of probation so that more people benefit from the changes that were made in 2017 and ultimately get back to work. One last piece that we're working on is driver's license suspensions. 86% of Americans drive to work, and many jobs require a driver's license. Without a license, you can't drive to work, you can't take your children to school, can't go to the grocery store and get the health care that you need. Nationwide, the numbers are similar. About 40% of suspensions are for unpaid traffic tickets and other things that have nothing to do with unsafe driving, according to the American Association of Motor Vehicles. It's a key element to our economy and workforce as well. In 2020, there were 122,700 job postings requiring a driver's license. Demand for driver's license has surpassed previous years, and between 2016 and 2020, job postings requiring a driver's license have increased 79%. In 2019, Georgia suspended over 200,000 driver's licenses, 105,000 for failure to appear in court for minor traffic offenses, and often individuals don't even know they had a court date. We're working on a bill, HB 330, which eliminates the driver's license reinstatement fee for those that can't afford it, helping them get back to work and earning a paycheck again. I'm happy to, if you guys have any questions, if the committee or Chairman Chokas, if you have any questions about some of these policies that I've outlined, I'm happy to follow up with individuals later. But that concludes the areas that we're focusing on in regards to education workforce policies for this session.
Amy, thank you very much. I think what we're going to do right now is go ahead and proceed with the next presentation from the Small Business Development Center. But before we go, I just want to thank you for enlightening us. Too many times we take for granted that the chambers of commerce are simply working to, I don't know, find benefits for business. But in reality, they're working to improve the workforce, eliminate some of the technical problems that exist, preventing our workforce from learning and growing and training and getting good jobs. And I really appreciate the fact that the people that y'all had presenting showed not only the benefit to business, but the benefit to the workforce and how we can change lives. So with that being said, Miss Amy, I appreciate your presentation, and please convey my thanks on behalf of the committee to the presenters. I think they all did an excellent job. And at this time is Alan Adams on the on Zoom. Are you ready to go, sir?
Yes, sir, I am.
Cool. Well, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you having us this morning. I'm joined this morning by Walt Moore, who's director of our office at Valdosta State University, and two business owners, Greg Williams with Southern Metalcraft and Ryan Lowe with Process Equipment and Controls. I hope they're going to join us with the weather. I hope they haven't been overcome by events at their businesses. But real quick, well, I was going to share my screen, but it appears that I don't have those privileges. Let me tell you a little bit about the University of Georgia SBDC program. We are an educational extension program of the university. We are partnered with other schools in the state as well. We provide management training and consulting to business owners and prospective entrepreneurs. Basically, our role is to help them acquire skills and knowledge to improve their chances for success.
Excuse me, let me interrupt for a technical reason. I've been informed that you will be able to share your screen at this time. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Great. Thank you much. Can y'all see that yet?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have 18 locations across the state. As I mentioned, we are partnered with other institutions in the university system and one private university. And the idea behind this is we're modeled much like the cooperative extension service. We're intended to be close to where business owners live and practice. They don't have to come to Athens for help. We have resources deployed around the state in close proximity. The type of assistance we provide is principally one-on-one with business owners to help them deal with their unique challenges and needs. We also provide training when it's oftentimes more efficient to present information on business concepts and principles that are common to many businesses. The type of issues we work with business owners, frequently business owners have a deep passion and knowledge for their product or their service, but they may not have all the skills necessary to help them make sound decisions and improve their economic viability. We help people with accounting systems, understanding how money's flowing through their business. Certainly cash flow is a big issue for most small businesses, understand where money's coming in and going out. Financing, helping them understand those that have opportunities to grow, how do they obtain additional capital to finance that growth. Certainly that's been a big issue in 2020 with all the federal loan programs that rolled out. I'll touch on that again in a moment. Marketing issues, finding new customers, human resources as people begin to grow and have more of a workforce, they need personnel systems. We work with people who are trying to export. Pretty much anything a owner-operated business, which is our primary focus, needs, we can assist with. Once firms get large enough where they have a whole finance department, accounting department, that's not really our target. It's really the owner-operated business. There's still 50 employees or less, and the owners or their senior management team is being challenged by a lot of things. That's where we're trying to help out. We are partially funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration. We operate under a number of a federal statute and regulations which dictate a lot of what we do. One of the federal statute guidelines is there's no direct cost to business owners for using our service. Certainly they're paying for it through taxes. But the idea behind that is cash-tight entrepreneurs might not ask for help if there's too much of an expense to it. Of course, it works out well for us too. It could be very difficult getting people to come if they were more focused on their immediate cash situation than this kind of help. We also have a few special initiatives around the state. Agribusiness, Walt works with our agribusiness team. We work in close cooperation with the University of Georgia Cooperative Extension Service and the Georgia Department of Agriculture, helping business owners more on the financial management side and the growth opportunity side. We have an international trade program where we primarily focus on new to export companies that have become well established domestically and have the opportunity to project themselves overseas. We work very closely with the Department of Economic Development's International Trade Division in that effort. We also have a minority business outreach program, which principally focuses on government procurement opportunities, also work on certifications, and we do some Spanish language training of our basic programs and resources. And we also have a medical practice management program, which primarily focuses on independent pharmacists and medical practices, sole proprietor type medical practices. In 2020, we certainly saw an uptick in business due to the current COVID environment. We documented over 5,000 clients last year. We probably saw 2,000 or 3,000 more on top of that in March and April when there was such a frenzy to get information about the federal loan programs that are available and access those. SBA agreed, and we stopped record keeping for a little while just to improve the volume of people we could put through. So we're not entirely sure of all the people we dealt with. Training programs, we had over 12,000 Georgians attend our training programs last year. Again, early in the rollout of the federal programs, it was kind of hectic. We were asked by the governor's office to put out information on the programs. We did a number of webinars, over 100 webinars, some with the governor's office, many through local chambers for their members. We had an additional 14,000 people participate in training programs with us last year. As part of trying to keep track of what we're doing and measure the effectiveness of what we're doing, we're also participate in economic impact studies every year. How do our clients do versus the average Georgia business? You can see here the bar chart on the right, the firms that we worked with in the previous year, how their sales and employment improved versus the average Georgia business. Certainly businesses that are paying close attention to growth and careful management frequently can enjoy greater success. Additional impact numbers over the past 5 years, the number of businesses that our clients started, jobs created. One of the important things we do, it's not our principal focus, but certainly rare is the business that can grow without access to additional capital. They can't grow out of revenues typically. In the past 5 years, we've helped people access over $1 billion in loans and equity capital. Certainly, again, back to last year when the rollout of the federal programs came, it was a difficult time because those were all brand new. It was a difficult time for SBA, for lenders who had to utilize those programs. Everybody was trying to figure out how it was actually going to work. And the rules had not been written, policies had not been established, so it was kind of being developed on the fly. And certainly we were able to help quite a few people figure out those programs. As we told the governor's office, people who had good credit, that already had established banking relationships, We just directed them right into their lender. That was going to be their best way to access the system quickly. For ourselves, we took the people who maybe didn't have good credit, didn't have good financials, didn't have a relationship with a lender that was already part of the SBA lending programs. And those are the ones we took more time with and helped them figure out how to access those programs. That is us in a nutshell. And I want to leave time. I don't know if our business owners have been able to join us yet. Greg Williams and Ryan Lowe. Greg or Ryan, are y'all available? They,
Alan, thank you for the presentation. We're having a little bit of a technical problem right now. Let's try to work on that. So,
Alan, I'm here, if you can hear
Great.
me.
great. Greg, why don't you go ahead and
thank
you
you.
tell them a little bit about your business, how you got introduced to the SBDC, and sort of what's going on with your business right now.
Sure. First of all, I'd just like to thank y'all for the opportunity to be a part of this morning. As Alan mentioned, my name's Greg Williams. I'm owner of Southern Metal Craft. We're a 47-year-old family-owned business. We're a precision metal fabrication company located in Lithonia, Georgia. And we service customers in both the custom and production arena, located not only in Georgia, but in the Southeast region. Our relationship with the Uga Sbdc began back in 2018 when I was introduced to Michael Myers, one of their advisors, by my wife, who he was working with already in her business. At the time, Southern Metal Craft was coming off of back-to-back record-breaking revenue years. We had 35 team members and sales of about 5.8 million at that time. We just ended 2020 with 40 team members and sales of 8.06 million. And today we continue to look for and add new team members, as well as pursuing an opportunity to relocate our business and expand our operations out in the social circle area. Our relationship with the Uga Sbdc provided the resources that we needed to keep our momentum going that we had started and continue us on the growth trajectory that we've got and that where our goals are for. We look forward to expanding that in the coming years with the training programs that they've got and they offer to small businesses like us. You know, my encouragement to the committee would be, just to continue to provide the funding that entities like the SBDC need. They're on a small business from a standpoint of that, it's an invaluable resource to us. The network that Michael had provided me with to expand my leadership team. The idea was specifically with an outsourced CFO, introduced me some bankers that have helped us to continue our growth and get funding for expansion that we've done and adding equipment that have allowed us to continue to grow. It's just an invaluable resource to us in the small business world. So I just encourage y'all to continue to look at them and know that they are a resource to the small businesses in our state. It's an honor to be with y'all this morning. I appreciate the chance and the opportunity Alan and Michael gave us this morning to speak to y'all, and I appreciate your time. Yeah.
Thanks, Greg.
Mr. Williams, I appreciate your presentation. Is Mr. Moore available? Are we going to the next, Mr. Lowe?
Yeah. Walt's here to answer questions about how we work with business owners, or if anybody's got questions, particularly how the federal loan program rollout went last year and people's accessing that. He's a former lender himself and an active farmer as well. And I don't know if Ryan is still on, if Ryan can try one more time, see if he's got a better connection. Hey, Ryan.
Yeah, hello. Hey, Alan.
Well, we can see you, Ryan, but the audio is pretty rough.
All right, Mr. Lowe, we're still having some technical problems. So if.
Everybody can
Ms.
hear me
Moore-
okay?
Wait a minute.
Ryan, is that you one more time?
All right.
Oh, good.
We might have to. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
We hear you now.
Hello, can we hear me, Alan? Am I good? Good deal. My name's Ryan Lowe. I'm the owner of Process Equipment and Controls. We offer turnkey solutions for industrial and food manufacturers here in
Mr. Lowe, we're still having problems with your transmission.
in the metro area, the local area, and we started out in 2012 with 2 employees currently, and that's with the help of the SBDC. We were in 2015 seeking advice for our growth issues.
Unfortunately, Mr. Lowe, we're still having technical difficulties and we're not receiving your transmission. At this time, let's call on Mr. Moore. If you've got a few statements or a few words you could share, and then we could go to some questions.
Yes, I thank you guys for your time today and allowing us to be here. I don't really have anything to present. I could just echo on some of the things Alan said, but we're here to answer any questions that you guys may have about our services and what we've been doing the past year.
Good. All right, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll add for Ryan Lowe, I'm sorry, you couldn't hear him. He's quite a fascinating story. He started out with a handful of employees when he met one of our SBDC consultants. At this time, he has over 100 employees in a small manufacturing operation down in Newton County. And it's just a great story of perseverance and somebody who's really worked hard to grow a business, and even through some difficult economic challenges. But if y'all have questions for the business owners or for Walter,
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you both. I think our first question is from the governor's floor leader, Dominic Laricchia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the presenters for being with us this morning. I wanted to start off and just say to Kevin Skidmore with 440 Trucking, God bless you, my friend. You are the best of what this state has to offer and to this country, quite frankly. Those stories of people who bounce back and start a small business from scratch is unbelievable. But this is for Marshall Guest. I'm jumping back up to our first section of presenters with the Metro Atlanta Chamber. And we've heard several presenters over the last couple of weeks. And I don't want to miss this opportunity to comment about, we would be having a totally different conversation today were it not for the strong, courageous, conservative leadership of Governor Brian Kemp and his decision to keep this state open for business and at least give business owners a fighting chance to adapt to what we're seeing in this COVID-19 pandemic. And who among us would like to balance everyday lives and livelihoods and try to strike a balance between the fiscal health of this state and the physical health of this state? And so, Marshall, if you would, I'd just like for you to comment on that briefly. And if you have any feedback from your members about how important that was that the governor allowed them to continue to fight to keep those businesses open that employ those people of this state.
This is Amy Lancaster King. I'm sorry. Marshall had to double duty this morning, so he had to step off on another call. I'm happy to forward the question and have him respond later if that's sufficient. I will say he's been doing so much work with our Restore initiative, where they've been really hearing directly from many of our members, and would be best to respond to your question with all of that experience that he has working with the companies in that regard.
Thank you, Amy. Our next question is from Representative Kennard. You have the floor.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, we
hear me?
can.
Okay, great. I'm driving in from Gwinnett, so thanks for allowing me to be on this Zoom call this morning. I would just like to add some commentary to this idea of an untapped part of our workforce with returning citizens. At my nonprofit organization, Inspire Outreach, we work with the homeless, which often involves a lot of returning citizens who are getting back on their feet from incarceration. And I know firsthand the barriers between a criminal record and also probation and getting into the workforce in any meaningful way. So I've dropped 3 bills that are criminal justice bills, but they're actually workforce development bills. One is HB 335, which limits probation to 24 months. Our own director of community service in the state of Georgia is Michael Nell, and he has said firsthand that probation is not effective after 24 months, because after 24 months, it just serves as a trap for violation and keep people in the system. So this bill would limit probation to 24 months and help these individuals get back into the workforce. Also, I have HB 404, which eliminates arrest-only records. There's 11 million citizens in Georgia. There are 4.32 million criminal records in our GCIC system, and most of them are arrest-only, meaning they were never found guilty. The case was thrown out, but still they're carrying around a record, but when they were just simply arrested. And that's most of our criminal records in Georgia. This would eliminate so that when an employer runs their record, this arrest-only record would not show up. And then finally, I have HB 300, which after someone has served their sentence, they finish their probation on a nonviolent felony or misdemeanor, that record is automatically restricted, so that when someone is trying to move forward with housing and employment, the criminal record doesn't serve as a lifetime sentence once they have served all of their time and finished their probation. So I just wanted to say this as a small business, this is something we need to take a look at, because this is an untapped part of our workforce that represents hundreds of thousands of Georgians who could get back in the workforce in a very meaningful way, if not for these criminal records and this overdue probation. Georgia is the worst state in the union for probation. We have more people on probation than any other state, and we are 4 times the national average. So that is serving as an impediment to our workforce. And actually, it's an untapped place that we can find more labor in Georgia. Thank you.
No. Thank you for your presentation. Anyway, our next question is from Representative Cannon.
Good morning, everyone. I wanted to second what the committee member just said as it relates to probation. I was very surprised to hear the Metro Atlanta Chamber say that this was a cost-effective method of sentencing, and wanted to get some clarity on if that was a statement that the Metro Atlanta Chamber would stand behind still to this day. Secondly, I wanted to ask about the CAPS funding, the interest in the increase. Up to what percentage is that increase requested?
So for the probation, it's really just as the intent of probation. I'm not saying that in Georgia that it's a cost effective component. What we were just trying to give some examples or an explanation as to how probation is utilized. So I'm happy to look into that further. And if you've got something specific that you'd like me to look at, I'm happy to do that, Representative Cannon. Regarding the caps, we'd like to see, let me pull it up here, an increase, an additional 340 million over the next 3 fiscal years to go towards caps. Does that answer both of your questions? I'm sorry.
It does answer both of the questions. I think what I'm trying to get at is if you're trying to say that probation is and you're giving a definition of what probation is, then to just give that definition perhaps, instead of saying that it is cost effective, when in fact it is very clear that it is not a cost effective measure of sentencing.
Understood.
Well, thank you. There are no more questions. I really appreciate the Metro Chamber and the SBDC for their presentations and the guests. I'm sorry we had technical issues, but thank you very much for the presentation. Committee members, we're adjourned.